Are you tired of feeling disrespected, manipulated, or endlessly drained by others? Do you feel your vital energy slipping away as you endure situations that leave you feeling empty? It's time to definitively halt those unacceptable behaviors that steal your peace. You weren't born to be trampled upon, and the good news is you have the power to alter this dynamic. Ancient wisdom, the same that empowered figures like the Stoics, teaches us that our dignity is non-negotiable and that its protection rests firmly in our own hands. In this video, we will candidly identify those toxic behaviors you should never put up with. You'll gain insight into why they impact you so deeply, and more importantly, how to confront them using your inner strength. But pay close attention. The most potent strategies for making all of this work, the very essence that will shield you and allow you to live freely, are reserved for the end. Missing the conclusion would mean remaining trapped in old patterns that hinder your progress. If you're ready to reclaim your power, to stop enduring the intolerable, and to build relationships that uplift you, then stay until the very end. Now is the moment to apply that unwavering Stoic resolve that resides within you. If you value your well-being, and this message of empowerment resonates with you, please give a like. And if you haven't yet joined this community dedicated to inner strength, subscribe so you don't miss any vital lessons. Your peace and dignity will thank you. Disrespect, the quiet erosion of the soul. Persistent disrespect is not a minor oversight. It's a continuous assault on your self-worth and peace of mind. It often begins subtly, sharp remarks disguised as humor, condescending attitudes, constant interruptions that diminish your presence. Yet each time you allow these actions to pass without a clear response, you're sending a dangerous message. That it's acceptable to treat you this way. You adapt, rationalize it, perhaps thinking it's not a big deal, but the reality is, every small dose of disrespect accumulates, gradually eroding your inner peace. Recognizing these early warning signs is crucial. Don't wait for the behavior to escalate. Listen to that internal discomfort when someone makes you feel undervalued. When your words are ignored, your feelings minimized, or your worth questioned, these are clear indicators that your dignity is under attack. Ignoring these warnings won't make them vanish. It will only normalize the disrespectful treatment. Your task is to develop a conscious awareness of your feelings and to trust them. Your self-image is your most potent defense. If you truly know who you are and understand your worth, hurtful words lose much of their impact. You don't require anyone's validation to be valuable. Remembering this daily is fundamental. Your worth isn't determined by how others perceive you, but by how you perceive yourself. Work on strengthening your confidence from within. Acknowledge your strengths and accept your weaknesses, not with guilt, but with a desire for growth. When you deeply respect yourself, the external world inevitably begins to mirror that respect, not because they change, but because you no longer permit anything less. Stoic philosophy teaches us to remain steadfast in our principles, regardless of others' actions. It's not about lowering yourself to their level, but about responding from your own strength and tranquility. Every disrespectful interaction is a test of your ability to maintain your center. Respond calmly, with quiet firmness. Sometimes, a simple, direct statement suffices. I don't accept being spoken to that way. Other times, the wisest response is simply to withdraw from the situation, refusing to engage in a degrading exchange. Not all battles are worth your energy. Choosing to respond with serenity and dignity is an act of emotional self-discipline. You are reprogramming your mind to act from your inherent value, not from impulsive reactions or fear. Life will constantly present you with people who won't know how to respect you. This is not a reflection of your weakness, but often of their own deficiencies. Your mission isn't to change them, but to decide how you position yourself in their presence. Their lack of respect does not define who you are. Your response does. Protect your dignity with resolve. Do not let others' behavior dictate your inner state. Decide today to respect yourself and to command respect. Commit to living with the serene strength of someone who does not compromise their own worth. Verbal abuse, the invisible scars. Words leave. Verbal abuse is insidious because it often starts subtly, disguised as jokes, constructive criticism, or seemingly harmless comments. But its underlying purpose is to undermine your self-esteem, making you feel small, confused, or guilty. It's crucial to learn to detect these initial forms of abuse before they become an ingrained pattern. Early signs are clear to those willing to see them: a mockery that makes you uncomfortable and is dismissed when you express your discomfort, a recurring criticism that never offers a useful suggestion, a tone of voice or choice of words that makes you feel inferior for no apparent reason. If after interacting with someone you feel emotionally drained, doubting yourself, or with a persistent sense of unease, it's likely you've been subjected to verbal abuse. The most common error is to minimize it, believing it's an isolated incident or that the person didn't mean it. What isn't confronted promptly becomes normalized. Words possess immense power and can inflict emotional wounds as painful and lasting as physical ones. Do not underestimate the impact of verbal abuse on your well-being. Halting these harmful cycles demands a firm decision and consistent action. Don't passively wait for the abuser to change. Abusive patterns are reinforced by tolerance and silence. To break the cycle, you must establish clear boundaries and protect your emotional space. This means communicating directly yet calmly that you will not accept that kind of language or tone. Maintain your stance even if you face resistance or attempts at emotional manipulation. Understand that protecting your well-being doesn't make you selfish. It makes you responsible for your own mental health. Sometimes, breaking an abusive cycle involves creating physical or emotional distance, even if it's painful. It means choosing your own peace over maintaining a relationship that is harming you. Every time you tolerate verbal abuse, you strengthen the chain that binds you. Every time you defend yourself with dignity, you take a giant step towards your freedom. The Stoic control of your response is a powerful tool in these situations. It doesn't mean you should accept abuse in silence, but that you don't allow the aggression to drag you onto their territory. The abuser often seeks to provoke you, to make you lose control, to trap you in their negative dynamic. Your goal is to break that pattern. When faced with verbal aggression, pause. Do not react impulsively. Breathe. Ask yourself if that person deserves your energy at that moment. Is it worth sacrificing your peace for their words? Responding calmly with a firm refusal, "I won't continue this conversation if you speak to me like that," or even with a dignified silence, shows that you are in control of your inner state. Choosing your response wisely instead of reacting automatically empowers you. Stoic control is not passivity, it is a conscious force that strips conflict of its power. Maintaining your emotional center amidst verbal aggression is an art cultivated through practice. You remind yourself, even in the heat of the moment, that another's words only affect you if you grant them that power. This process molds your character, making your emotional stability less vulnerable to external attacks. Destructive comments can slide off when your inner strength is unshakable. You cannot control what others say, but you can control how you respond and what you allow to penetrate your being. Safeguard your mind and spirit from verbal abuse. Destructive criticism, the attack on your self-esteem under false pretenses. Destructive criticism isn't aimed at your growth. It seeks to undermine your confidence, sow doubt, and make you feel inadequate. Unlike constructive criticism, which offers respectful observations with a genuine intention to help you improve, destructive criticism is often tinged with disdain, mockery, or subtle envy. It doesn't provide paths forward. It merely points out supposed flaws in a cruel or disparaging way. It's essential to learn to distinguish between the two, to protect your mental state. Ask yourself, is the intention behind this criticism to help me or to hurt me? Does it come from a place of respect or a position of assumed superiority? This simple evaluation will allow you to decide whether that criticism merits consideration or if it should be dismissed. You cannot prevent people from having opinions about you or your work. Criticism is an inevitable part of life, especially if you dare to be authentic or undertake projects. However, you can control what you allow into your inner world. Your mind is your sacred space, and you must be the guardian of what enters it. Remember that others' perceptions are often filtered by their own experiences, insecurities, and prejudices. Destructive criticism often reveals more about the person uttering it than about you. Instead of wondering what you did wrong, consider what might be happening in that person's life that makes them feel the need to attack you in that manner. Maintaining this perspective provides healthy emotional distance. It's not about being impervious to all opinions, but about being selective, filtering information, and retaining only what genuinely helps you grow. The art of active indifference is a powerful skill for handling destructive criticism. This doesn't mean you care about nothing, but that you consciously choose not to let certain negative opinions disturb your serenity. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that it is not events that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. If you decide that ill-intentioned criticism is irrelevant, you strip it of all power over you. Practicing active indifference means understanding that not all criticism deserves a response or deep reflection. It is wisely choosing where you invest your emotional energy. Each time you let destructive criticism pass without agitation, you are strengthening your mental resilience. One tool to cultivate this strength is to visualize your internal stability. Imagine your mind as an impregnable fortress. Criticisms are like arrows attempting to reach it, but if its walls are solid and your interior is calm, they bounce off without harming you. Anticipate that there will be unfair criticisms. Don't be surprised when they arrive. Accept them as part of the human landscape, but decide beforehand that you will not allow them to penetrate your being. This constant practice molds your character. Destructive criticisms lose their edge when your self-image is strong and your inner peace is a priority. Do not surrender your emotional stability to those who only seek to tear you down. Be the fortress that defends your own peace. Invalidation of your feelings, the silent damage to your emotional reality. The invalidation of your feelings is a form of psychological abuse that makes you question your own emotional experience. It occurs when someone minimizes, denies, or dismisses what you feel. They tell you that you are overreacting, that you shouldn't feel that way, that your reactions are disproportionate, or even that you are to blame for feeling bad. Phrases like, "It's not a big deal," "You're making a mountain out of a molehill," or "If you weren't so sensitive," are examples of invalidation. This behavior confuses you, isolates you, and makes you believe that your emotions are incorrect or irrational. It is a direct attack on your perception of internal reality. You don't have to justify what you feel. Your emotions are valid simply because you experience them. They are a fundamental part of your being and provide you with valuable information about your experiences and needs. When someone invalidates your feelings, they are implicitly telling you that your inner world is unimportant or wrong. This can lead you to suppress your emotions, feel ashamed of them, and lose connection with yourself. Do not allow anyone to make you doubt the validity of what you feel. Your emotional experience is yours, and it is real. If you face constant invalidation, it's important to reaffirm the validity of your feelings to yourself, even if the other person doesn't. You can communicate your experience assertively. "I understand you don't see it the same way, but this is what I feel, and it's important to me." You don't need to enter a debate to convince the other person that your emotions are correct. Your goal is to assert your right to feel and express your experience. If invalidation persists despite your attempts to communicate, it's a sign that the person is unwilling or unable to offer you the emotional respect you deserve. Your emotional health depends on you validating your own feelings, regardless of others' responses. Learning to trust your emotions as an inner guide is crucial. Don't let external invalidation lead you to doubt your own sanity or the legitimacy of your experience. Surround yourself with people who do validate your feelings, who listen with empathy, and who support you on your emotional journey. You don't have to beg for understanding. Your inner world is valid. Emotional manipulation, the invisible chains that bind you. Emotional manipulation is a subtle and harmful form of control that uses your emotions as a weapon. It's not a direct attack, but a complex tangle of guilt, obligation, and fear designed to make you do what the other person wants. It often masquerades as love, concern, or need, making it difficult to identify at first. It manifests through emotional blackmail, where you're made to feel responsible for the other person's happiness or pain. Phrases like, "If you really loved me, you'd do this for me," or a prolonged, charged silence of reproach after you don't comply with something, are common tactics. They leave you with a sense of debt or guilt that isn't yours to bear. The key to protecting yourself is to tune into how you feel after an interaction. If you consistently feel exhausted, guilty, anxious, or burdened by a sense of obligation that weighs you down, it's likely you're being manipulated. Recognizing these dynamics doesn't make you distrustful of everyone, but rather more aware and capable of identifying when a relationship ceases to be a genuine exchange and becomes a game of emotional power. Once manipulation is identified, the next step is to strengthen your emotional autonomy. Understand on a deep level that you are not responsible for others' emotions. Each person is the owner of their own feelings, decisions, and well-being. Your responsibility is to manage your own emotional life with maturity. You are not obligated to carry anyone else's emotional life. Emotional autonomy is cultivated by remembering that you can love and support others without sacrificing your own well-being or betraying yourself to please them. True love does not demand that you become a diminished version of yourself. The manipulator's power resides in the belief that you need their approval or love to be valuable. When your worth originates from within, manipulation loses its influence. Strengthening your emotional autonomy is reminding yourself daily that you deserve relationships based on mutual respect, not on guilt or fear. Conscious detachment is an essential tool to free yourself from the chains of manipulation. Practicing it doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent, but rather loving without possessing and supporting without needing to control or be controlled. Observe your emotions without letting them overwhelm you. When you feel the urge to give in to avoid conflict, pause and ask yourself, am I acting out of free choice or emotional pressure? Visualize a clear separation between your feelings and those of the other person. You can empathize with their pain, but you are not responsible for solving or carrying it. Detachment purifies love, allowing you to relate more authentically without the invisible chains of guilt or need. Finally, setting clear boundaries is your most powerful defense against manipulation. A healthy boundary is not a barrier of rejection, but an affirmation of self-love. It means firmly communicating what behaviors you are unwilling to accept and acting accordingly if those boundaries are crossed. It's not enough to feel uncomfortable, you need to express it. It can be difficult at first, especially if you're used to pleasing to avoid problems, but each time you set a boundary, you strengthen yourself. If those who benefited from your lack of boundaries react with annoyance, it's not a sign that you're acting wrongly, but that you're breaking a pattern that suited them. Setting boundaries doesn't guarantee others will change, but it guarantees that you will change the way you allow yourself to be treated. And that transforms your life. Today you can choose to free yourself from any form of emotional manipulation and start building relationships based on respect and authenticity. Excessive control, the cage that prevents your free flight. Excessive control in a relationship is not a sign of love or concern. It is a manifestation of insecurity, possessiveness, and fear of losing you. Controlling individuals attempt to dictate aspects of your life that belong only to you, who you can spend time with, how you should dress, what decisions you should make, and even what you should think or feel. They seek to limit your freedom, isolate you from your support network, friends, family, and seize control of your autonomy, often masking their actions under the pretext of protecting or caring for you. This behavior transforms you into an extension of themselves, robbing you of your individuality and your ability to be spontaneous and authentic. Recognizing the signs of control is fundamental. Constant calls or messages to know your whereabouts and companions, unjustified criticism of your friends or family, attempts to distance you from your social circle, monitoring your communications, unilateral decisions that affect both of you, or making you feel guilty every time you do something without their approval. This behavior is neither normal nor healthy in any relationship. It is a form of abuse that seeks to nullify your will and independence. Do not justify control as normal jealousy or intense affection. It is an attempt to dominate and limit you. Your personal freedom is non-negotiable. You have the right to your own decisions, your own friendships, your own space, and your own life. Control stems from the controller's fear of losing you, and instead of working on their own insecurity, they try to cage you to feel secure. Your task is to reaffirm your independence and establish clear, non-negotiable boundaries regarding your autonomy. Firmly communicate that you will not accept anyone dictating your life. Do not ask for permission to make plans, see your friends, or make personal decisions. Simply inform if you deem it necessary, but maintain your right to choose. If the controlling behavior persists despite your boundaries, it is a clear sign that the relationship is profoundly unhealthy and damaging. Freeing yourself from excessive control can be difficult, as it often involves facing resistance and manipulation from the controller. However, your well-being and freedom are paramount. Do not get used to living under surveillance or in fear of the other's reaction. You deserve to be in relationships where trust and mutual respect are the norm, not where your ability to be yourself is constrained. Do not let anyone put you in a cage. Your capacity for free flight is an essential part of who you are. Consistent dishonesty, the erosion of trust, lies, whether significant or trivial, undermine the foundation of any healthy relationship. Trust. Constant dishonesty creates an atmosphere of uncertainty and doubt, where you question what is real and what isn't. If someone habitually lies, even about minor things, they are demonstrating a fundamental lack of respect and consideration. They force you into a constant state of alert, questioning the veracity of what they tell you and eroding your ability to confide in that person. Habitual dishonesty is not a simple mistake. It's a behavioral pattern that reveals a lack of integrity. If someone lies about small things, it's likely they will also do so about more important matters. Do not justify their lies with excuses like, "I didn't want to worry you," or "it was a white lie." A lie is a disrespect for the truth and for the person receiving it. Getting used to dishonesty is dangerous, as it normalizes a lack of transparency and erodes the possibility of genuine connection. Confront dishonesty when you detect it. Point out the discrepancy between what was said and reality. Observe the person's reaction. Do they show remorse? Do they try to justify the lie? Do they make an effort to change? If dishonesty persists and there is no genuine effort to build trust, it is a significant red flag. Trust is like a mirror. Once broken, it can be very difficult, sometimes impossible, to completely repair. Do not build your relationships on a rotten foundation of lies. You deserve honesty and transparency from the people in your life. Demand the truth, even if it is sometimes difficult to hear. If someone is unable to be consistently honest with you, that relationship lacks a solid foundation. Do not settle for living in a perpetual state of doubt. Your peace of mind and the health of your relationships depend on the presence of truth and mutual trust. Betrayal of trust, the profound impact that demands reconstruction. The betrayal of trust is one of the deepest wounds that can be experienced in a relationship. It shatters an invisible yet vital bond and leaves a sense of devastation and disillusionment. The action itself hurts, but so does the rupture of the image you had of the person and the feeling that the ground beneath your feet has given way. However, though the pain may be intense, a betrayal doesn't have to define you forever or rob you of the ability to trust again. It is a painful lesson, yes, but it can also be an opportunity to strengthen yourself. Rebuilding your capacity to trust begins by recognizing that one person's betrayal does not define all others. Just because someone has failed you doesn't mean the entire world is untrustworthy. The key is to become more selective and to rebuild trust gradually, basing it on consistent actions over time, not just on words or promises. It's not about closing yourself off to love or friendship, but about understanding that trust is something earned over time through integrity. Following a betrayal, you can choose to learn and grow instead of becoming hardened or bitter. Your circle of trust can be reborn, perhaps smaller, but stronger and more conscious. Stoic principles on loyalty offer valuable perspective. Loyalty, from this philosophy, is a value you choose to practice regardless of whether others reciprocate in the same way. You choose to be loyal to your principles, your truth, your best self, without demanding that the external world be perfect to maintain your integrity. This perspective frees you from the suffering that arises from expecting absolute fidelity in an imperfect world. Evaluating the situation without resentment is crucial for healing and learning. It's natural to feel anger, sadness, or disappointment, but if you remain trapped in those emotions, you become a prisoner of the past. Evaluating without resentment involves observing the facts objectively, identifying what signs you might have ignored, what boundaries you didn't set in time, and what lessons you can glean from the experience. It's not about blaming yourself, but about gaining wisdom for the future. Looking at the one who betrayed you not as an absolute monster, but as a fallible human being, perhaps caught in their own limitations, can help you release the burden of hatred. This doesn't justify their action, but it allows you to let go of the emotional weight. Every painful experience can be a teacher if you choose to learn instead of dwelling on it. Detachment from disappointment is the art of accepting what happened without allowing it to define your present or your future. It's recognizing that even though someone may have failed, you still have the power to choose how to live. You don't need the world to be fair to move forward with dignity. Every disappointment is an opportunity to release unrealistic expectations about human relationships. No bond is guaranteed. Every relationship is a daily choice. The only unconditional loyalty should be to yourself. Practicing detachment allows you to look back, acknowledge the wound, and find gratitude for the lesson. It allows you not to let another's actions destroy your capacity to love, trust, and build. The pain may be profound, but it can also be the seed of a strength you didn't know you possessed. Choose to be wiser, not more cynical. Rebuild your inner world based on self-love and clarity. Not everyone will fail you. Choose to trust, but do so with open eyes, a peaceful heart, and a clear mind. Extreme selfishness, the lack of consideration that empties you. Extreme selfishness in a relationship is like a parasite that slowly drains your energy and well-being. It manifests when a person consistently prioritizes their own needs, desires, and convenience over yours, showing little to no consideration for your emotional or practical well-being. They ignore you when you need support, minimize your concerns, expect you to always be available for them, but rarely offer reciprocity. If you find yourself in a dynamic where your effort, understanding, and patience are constant, yet you rarely receive the same level of attention or support, you are dealing with detrimental selfishness. Ignoring this behavior won't make it disappear. Each time you justify another's selfishness, you move a little further away from your own center and your needs. Identifying extreme selfishness isn't being critical or demanding. It's an act of self-love. The antidote is to learn to put your own value and well-being first. This doesn't mean becoming selfish, but recognizing that your peace, your energy, and your dignity are non-negotiable. Often we've been taught that prioritizing oneself is selfishness, but the truth is that only those who value themselves can establish healthy relationships and offer love from a place of abundance, not scarcity. Remembering your own worth involves asking yourself in every interaction, does this dynamic respect me? Does it nourish me? Does it care for me? If the answer is no, you need to have the courage to act accordingly. Putting your value first isn't rejecting people. It's rejecting dynamics that diminish and exhaust you. Understand that you are not in this world to be others' emotional or practical support at the cost of your own well-being. No one deserves significant space in your life if their presence costs you your inner peace. Practicing conscious generosity is the healthy balance. Being generous doesn't mean giving without limits until exhaustion, but giving from a place of abundance and choice, not obligation or need for approval. Offer your help, your time, your love, but always from a place where you feel comfortable and not at the expense of your own emotional health. Seneca advised being selective with the time we share, for it is our most valuable possession. Your generosity must have firm roots in your self-esteem. Only then can you truly give, without resentment and without allowing others' selfishness to exploit you. Establishing healthy boundaries is the ultimate expression of self-respect in the face of selfishness. A clear boundary is not a barrier of rejection, but an affirmation of self-love. It means firmly communicating what behaviors you are unwilling to accept and acting accordingly. If those boundaries are crossed, it's not enough to feel uncomfortable. You need to express it. It can be difficult at first, especially if you're used to pleasing to avoid problems, but each time you set a boundary, you strengthen yourself. If those who benefited from your lack of boundaries react with annoyance, it's not a sign that you're acting wrongly, but that you're breaking a pattern that suited them. Setting boundaries doesn't guarantee others will change, but it guarantees that you will change the way you allow yourself to be treated, and that transforms your life. Today, you can choose relationships that nourish you instead of consuming you. Decide to prioritize respect, reciprocity, and authenticity. Constant irresponsibility, the unnecessary burden that wears you down. Constant irresponsibility from others can become a silent burden that, if unaddressed, robs you of energy, time, and peace of mind. Often, at first, you accept excuses, justify failures, or take on tasks that aren't yours, hoping the situation will improve. But in the meantime, the other person's lack of commitment begins to directly affect you. You find yourself solving problems you didn't create, assuming responsibilities that aren't yours, and carrying the weight of their negligence to avoid complications or conflicts. Others' irresponsibility drains you because it forces you to live in a state of alert, correcting errors and filling gaps you shouldn't have to. The most dangerous aspect is that you might normalize this pattern, believing your infinite patience is a virtue, when in reality, it's a form of self-abandonment and allowing others to overload you. Recognizing how others' irresponsibility impacts your life is the crucial first step to breaking this cycle. One of the most important keys is refusing to accept blame that isn't yours. Irresponsible people often try to manipulate the situation to make you feel responsible for the consequences of their own inaction. Phrases like, "If you had been more attentive," "I was counting on you for this," or "You didn't help me enough," are attempts to shift the burden. Maintain absolute clarity. Each person is responsible for their own actions and omissions. You cannot save someone who refuses to take their part. You cannot carry others' irresponsibility without becoming exhausted. When someone breaks their word, it is not your failure. When someone fails in their commitment, it is not your fault. Learning to return responsibility to its true owner is an act of personal protection. At the same time, cultivating your own discipline and responsibility is your best defense against the chaos others might create. Your discipline is your inner anchor, your refuge from the storm of others' unpredictability. When you are disciplined with yourself, you don't depend on others' organization or commitment to move forward in your own life. You make your decisions, fulfill your commitments, and chart your path with determination. Epictetus taught that we cannot control others' actions, but we can govern ourselves. Discipline isn't just about keeping schedules, it's a form of respect for your own time, values, and goals. Every act of self-discipline reinforces your inner confidence, reminding you that you can be constant in an inconsistent world. Healthy relationships, whether friendships, partnerships, family, or work, involve a mutual commitment to shared responsibility. Both sides must contribute to the emotional, practical, and moral sustenance of the bond. If you are constantly the one remembering important dates, initiating communication, correcting errors, or assuming pending tasks, the relationship is unbalanced. The scales tip dangerously towards your sacrifice. Shared responsibility means both recognize that their actions affect the other and that both contribute to mutual well-being. You cannot build lasting relationships on a foundation of excuses and empty promises. If you detect that the other person is unwilling to take their part, reflect on whether you truly want to invest your energy in that dynamic. Respect and responsibility are inseparable in a healthy bond. Today, you can choose to stop being the safety net for those who refuse to grow. Decide to invest your energy in those who are willing to share life's burdens, not in those who expect you to carry everything. Take responsibility for yourself with determination, but refuse to carry others. Live with the freedom and strength of one who knows that carrying another's world is not an act of kindness toward them, but self-abandonment toward yourself. You are not destined to be the shield of others' irresponsibility, but to build your own life with awareness, discipline, and dignity. Lack of empathy or indifference to your suffering, when your pain finds no echo. A lack of empathy manifests as an inability or unwillingness to understand or share your feelings, especially during times of difficulty or pain. It's a noticeable indifference to your suffering, your problems, or even your significant joys. When you're going through a tough time and the other person reacts with indifference, minimizes your experience, abruptly changes the subject, or offers no emotional support whatsoever, it's a clear sign that the emotional connection isn't deep or simply doesn't exist in the way you need it to. Individuals with a marked lack of empathy often focus exclusively on themselves and lack the capacity or willingness to put themselves in your shoes. They don't actively listen, don't try to understand your perspective, and their responses typically lack the warmth or concern you'd expect from someone close. This indifference can be very hurtful, as it makes you feel alone in your experience and question the value of the relationship. You deserve to be surrounded by people who genuinely care about you, who can rejoice with you in your successes and offer comfort and support in your difficulties. If someone is consistently indifferent to what happens to you, they are not fulfilling the role of a good friend, partner, or family member in the sense of a significant emotional connection. You don't have to beg for empathy. You don't have to justify the depth of your feelings or the importance of your problems. If your suffering doesn't move them, it's a clear indication that the emotional connection is not reciprocal. Don't wear yourself out trying to make them understand or feel what you feel. You are not responsible for teaching them to be empathetic. Simply recognize that this person, for whatever reason, cannot or will not provide you with the support and emotional connection you need, and act accordingly. Surround yourself with people who do have the capacity and willingness to show empathy, who listen to you, validate you, and actively care about your well-being. Your emotional health greatly benefits from having those around you who can share and understand your experience in both joy and sorrow. Don't settle for indifference. We have covered important ground, identifying behaviors that are not only unacceptable, but corrosive to your well-being and dignity. Disrespect, verbal abuse, destructive criticism, invalidation of your emotions, manipulation and control, dishonesty and betrayal, selfishness and irresponsibility, indifference to your suffering. These are all ways toxicity can infiltrate your life. But the good news is that you have the power to decide what you allow and what you don't. It's not about isolating yourself from the world or becoming distrustful of everyone. It's about being selective, protecting your vital energy, and establishing clear, healthy boundaries. It's about recognizing your own worth and refusing to accept less than you deserve. Life is too short to tolerate relationships that consume you, hurt you, or prevent you from being yourself. You deserve to be surrounded by people who respect you, value you, support you, and inspire you to be your best self. If you have identified any of these behaviors in your relationships, remember that you have the ability to change the dynamic. You can communicate your needs, set your boundaries, and, if necessary for your well-being, distance yourself from situations or people who harm you. You don't need anyone's permission to prioritize yourself. Your dignity is non-negotiable. Make the conscious choice today to no longer tolerate the intolerable. Commit to yourself to surround yourself with relationships that nourish you, uplift you, and allow you to grow. The most important relationship you will ever have in your life is with yourself. Nurture it, protect it, and build upon it an unbreakable foundation of respect, love, and authenticity. Hold your head high, reaffirm your worth, and live the life you deserve, free from behaviors that diminish you. You have the strength to do it.